All right, everyone, welcome back to the plotcast. I'm back again with my friend Otis, and we are rating today, or reviewing rather, the second episode of House of the Dragon, which aired yesterday. And I watched it yesterday.
Hey guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't let you. Sorry. Um, any first impressions, Otis?
Better than episode 1?
Hmm, you thought so?
Still, yeah, there's still the whole Hightower thing was so bloody obvious. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think we even talked about it because we did our episode 1 recording yesterday. We also talked about it yesterday. It
Mm-hmm.
was clear that he was trying to set his family up for a rise there.
Of course.
This episode made it very clear.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few scenes where it worked. There were quite a few scenes where it just annoyed me, where I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, just get on with it. We all know how it's going to end.
Actually,
And I
I
have to
didn't.
say, oh, seriously. And to me, the king was a fool to just go along with it.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, yeah, we've all seen this coming, except for you, apparently.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna choose Lena actually. That
Mm.
would have been the smart decision. But yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
but when
that's
has he
that's
made the smart decision so far?
yeah, true, true. I guess I'm too optimistic for these kinds of shows.
I mean, I don't mind his morals,
Hmm.
but everything else screams to me he's not the man who should be king
Yeah,
because he's not very good at it.
no, he's a bit. Well, we'll talk about it later, I guess. So yeah, to me it was good, but I thought the first one was a little bit better. uh, just because I don't know, I feel like the first one had a little bit more content. I don't know. I felt like it was a little bit light on story or whatever, exposition maybe.
I don't know.
This one.
There was a bit more setup than in the previous episode. I feel
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
we're slowly going towards. I'm still assuming all out war. It's just at this point, it's the question of with whom.
Yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. Okay, and we open up with the
The intro song. I have a question about the intro song for you. So I'm assuming it's the same song. I haven't heard the original enough, and South Park kind of ruined the song in my mind, so I'm assuming it's the same.
Yeah, well, it's the same, but I felt like maybe the pitch was a little bit off, and I'm actually very disappointed that it's so much the same. I did
Hmm.
saw that they are still using Ramin Djawadi. He's the writer of the songs, and his music for Game of Thrones was very, very good. Was until the last episode always on point, very good. So I'm happy they're still using him. I'm not happy that they decided to, I don't know, use the same song.
Or
Uh,
at least mimic it so much that it's hard to tell if it's a rearrangement in some parts.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was a little bit shorter maybe, but other than
Hmm.
that, it's the same.
Yeah. I'm wondering if in the actual series they're gonna do something with the whole river of blood thing we're seeing. What river, the blood filling the flows and going to the gears, and the gears do
Yeah.
stuff that releases more blood. I'm wondering if that's in any way gonna play into it, or if this is just a fun visual.
Yeah, I didn't really get what they were going for or what they were like showing. I thought it might have been a castle at first, but I wasn't sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was kind of vague to me, the whole intro thing. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Maybe they expand on it in other episodes. We'll make it more clear or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. But after the intro song, I assume you're talking now the creepy opening,
Yeah.
the the dead and wounded on the beach.
The
So we
crabs.
immediately think, oh yeah, that's a callback in episode 1. They were talking about this threat that was destroying the pirates but setting up their own base.
Yeah.
And we don't have to wait long to learn it is.
What's with all these crabs? So I wonder where they come from. Is this
The bad guy who's there,
is the Crab
the
King or something,
the
right?
crab keeper.
Crab
So I
Keeper.
assume it's his thing.
Yeah, I don't doubt it's his thing, but is he like keeping a ship full of crabs just to eat people? I don't know. It's strange. Maybe there's some magic involved. I don't know. The
It's fantasy medieval times,
mm,
and as a tool for terror, it can kind of count. You first fight, and then you let the crabs go, and who can't survive the crabs dies, but the few who survive will
yeah,
talk about the brutality of it and the
yeah,
horror.
I guess.
So
Yeah,
I
and
think it's a
anyway,
bit.
good, strong opening scene. Not much else to say. They're clearly, yeah, destroying lands close to Corlys Valerian's house, as we learn later. So yeah. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, we finally hear his, or at least I didn't pick up his name in the
oh,
first
they did
episode.
mention it. Yeah,
So he's Cornus
Corlys.
Collis? Okay,
Corlys. C O R
Corliss.
L Y
Ah,
S.
okay, I constantly heard Cornus, but that might be me then.
Mm,
I have to say one thing about this episode is the sound was at times horrible, so it was difficult to understand.
yeah, I found that as well. I really needed subtitles, especially the first opening scene. Not the opening scene, but the scene after this,
The
which,
council room, yeah.
yeah, the council. I was like, oh, what? What are you saying? But after that, it was fine. But yeah, that scene was hard for me.
Hmm.
Um,
And as per set up a bit in the first episode, so we see the group in the room, which we now know this is called the small council.
mhm.
So I'm assuming that there's a full council as well, but this is the small one. So
Yeah, it's no, there's not a great council. Oh, well, I mean, not in the
a
real sense.
normal council.
Not a normal council or anything. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I have to
Because I
make a
would.
correction from last episode.
Mhm,
You asked where they were opening the chests,
mhm,
where that was, and who was opening it. I think it's
mhm,
still right that it was a Septon, but apparently
mhm.
it was in Harrenhal. It wasn't in King's Landing. Harrenhal is actually where they held the vote, which is Harrenhal is the biggest castle in Westeros, so that's why
Okay.
they went there. It's also kind of in the middle of the country, so it's not too far for anyone. So that was Harrenhal. I do hope we
Okay.
see it again.
Okay. So the king is not in the biggest castle, and the
No,
capital is not in the center of the country.
no, no.
Okay.
It's kind of in the center. I mean, it's off center more to the south, but no, not the dead center. No. Um,
Okay. And where is Valerian's city then compared to that? Um,
oh, so yeah, we'd have to show you on a map, but so we
okay.
have
Let's take this offline and show me a map.
yeah, well, so no, I'll try to explain. So King's Landing is at the mouth of the river, of an important river, which flows into the Narrow Sea, and the Narrow Sea is between Westeros and Essos, and where the free cities are. So they talk about the free cities and war with free cities, how they want to
Hmm.
avoid it. Um, and so the free cities are on the east of the Narrow Sea, and Westeros is on the west of the Narrow Sea. And the Stepstones are kind of in the middle. And then you also have Lord Valerian's seat, which is Driftmark, which is also kind of in that vicinity. Then you also have Dragonstone, which is also an important castle we go to in
Hmm.
this episode, where Daemon is hiding. That's
Hmm.
also close to thereabouts. So yeah.
Okay, so what I'm doing in the meantime is I'm trying to find a map of Westeros and only Westeros because apparently they mapped out more than just this region, but I
Yeah.
keep finding the full map.
It's too bad that you need a map. Do you feel like you need a map when you're watching? Because I
Well,
know,
I
of
can
course.
no, I can kind of deduce some things, and I don't need a map just yet. once armies start moving, it might start becoming relevant. But so far,
Yeah,
we
because
we
that,
haven't really moved away from three spots so far.
yeah,
Eh?
which
If
is,
we
yeah,
forget the whole Harrenhal thing for a second, we've
yeah,
seen three locations. We've seen King's Landing, we've seen the
Dragonstone, Dra-
Dragonstone, and we've seen the beach of what I assume is
the Stepstones.
Valerion's area. Oh yeah, the Stepstones, you're right.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
Valerion's direct area, but
No.
it's close by.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
that's
at
the
the
whole
end of
point.
this episode, Damon is actually with um, Corlys Valerian, so he's at Driftmark. So technically, we've
Yeah,
seen
they're
four.
in Driftmark.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, the Game of Thrones intro song had this animation, kind of like the same kind of style of animation with this intro song, but it had a whole map, and so every episode it started with going across the map to every place which
Mm-hmm.
the episode is at.
Ah, okay.
So that was a good way to like make
Mm-hmm.
people see how far everything is.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially when you're 8 seasons in.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't
But
think this one will last 8 seasons.
from what I'm seeing now, yeah, maybe not. I don't know. Could be. Maybe it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, anyway, so yeah, the opening scene with the small council, and they're talking
I did
about.
think it, yeah, I think it was very showing, and it's a bit the same as we saw last episode, is they're having their discussion and they're more focused on an, a single replacement within the guard
Hmm.
than the fact that the stepstones are now, taken over by this foreign entity that's really in their sea and
Yeah,
yeah, could blockade or
yeah. It seems Viserys is kind of. I don't know. He's fearful. It seems. He's fearful from dragons. He's fearful from his brother. He's fearful from the free cities.
yeah,
Yeah.
but he's like, and I mean, I kind of understand it. He's like, yeah, we don't want war. And I'm kind of like, yes, war is shit. We don't want war. But to let this happen without even a token
Hmm.
sign of strength is kind of inviting war later on. Because if you're unwilling to defend your stuff, yeah, someone's gonna come and take it. When you're
Yeah.
talking on a king's level. I mean, you don't need to take that logic all the way to your person. I mean, you need to be a bit mindful that they don't take advantage of you, but you don't need to be constantly in fear that someone's going to take everything away.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about nations and kings and politics and medieval fantasy times, yeah, maybe be a strong king for
Yeah.
once.
I wonder
Please.
whether Otto Hightower, the Hand of the King, is gonna kind of change up now because now it's like official that they're gonna get married, and maybe now he'll be like, "Oh, you have to do this to look strong and whatever." Now that he's got what he wanted, I guess. I really
I don't know.
wonder.
I think he wants the king to die and then step up as the regent and make all his bold proclamations because he for now I think for now he wants this crab feeder there because it undermines Corlys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really the feeling I had from that scene,
Yeah.
this council room scene. Because yeah, Corlys is right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's make no mistake about it. He's angry, and then Otto Hightower starts saying, "Oh, but we'll compensate the family and blah blah blah," and it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh God." Um,
Yeah. And then Rhaenyra makes a good suggestion, in my opinion.
yeah,
To
indeed.
just go and burn them down with the dragons. This is kind of the first time where we see like Viserys is not very fond of dragons, even though, as we learn later as well, he uh,
Yeah,
he used to ride a dragon.
yeah, but it's also a bit. I didn't really get from that one the fear of dragons, though. In episode one, we kind of get it when he starts talking to his daughter when he
Yeah.
When he tells her that she's gonna be his heir, he has the whole speech about man
Yeah.
wasn't meant. It's foolish to think man could tame dragons or whatever it is he says. But I think it's also the idea of his heir flying off to combat, and he's again afraid of losing her as well, in the same way as he just lost both his wife and
Mm-hmm.
his son.
Of course.
Um, but yeah, indeed, she has a good proposal. I think what's more important for this scene is that we learn that Daemon took Dragonstone half a
Mm-hmm.
year ago, so it's at least
Yeah,
half a year
half a year.
since
Yeah.
episode one.
Uh-huh.
Um, so it's handy to try and keep track of time
Yeah.
because this whole lot is a bit confusing to me. So I like to
Yeah.
keep track of where we are. So I appreciated that throwaway sentence to help
Yeah, true, true.
establish.
Of
So that does mean that for half a year already, the crab feeder has been
yeah.
working the stepstones, and the king has not even allowed his navy to go scout or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And but
because he sent envoys to find a common cause, and
oh
he
yeah,
says,
to
"Oh,
the
I've
free
got
cities.
troops and ships at the ready." But if his head of the navy, which is Corlys, and that's established
Yes.
in this episode, if he doesn't know that the king is having ships at the ready, that means there are no ships at the ready.
Yeah, it seems. Although I have to say, but this is something I know. There are other families in the Seven Kingdoms with great fleets, so Velaryon isn't the only one. But yeah, he's master of ships, so he should
Yeah,
know.
even if the king didn't tell him, he should have someone within the Navy who will report to him, because that's
Yeah.
how fancy medieval politics are played. That's even how normal day politics are played.
Yes, of course. Um, but to touch once more on the dragon thing, Rhaenyra, okay, I get he's afraid for Rhaenyra, but nothing is stopping him. Like he used to ride the dragon, so nothing is stopping him from maybe trying it again. So I mean, except for his fear, I think. So I
And Otto, anytime, and because later on in the episode, the king is gonna go to Daemon, and it's Otto who stops him.
yeah, true. Yeah.
So there's also a bit there. I mean, the image of the weak king is slowly being played by the hand, a bit different than the few chapters of the very first Song of Ice and Fire book I read, where
Mm,
the hand was actually honorable.
mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
he died very quickly, but that's a different discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm still not sure what Otto's motivations really are. I hope it becomes clear in the next
I think he
episodes.
wants his family to rise. I mean, his play with his
Of
daughter
course,
is winning, so.
of course, but at this point, in his position, his daughter is going to get married to the king, and hopefully for him have a son.
Mhm.
Uh, he that's pretty much the ceiling. He can't get any higher than being the hand of the king for his grandson, I
He can
think.
be regent until his grandson is ready to take the throne. He can take the regent role. Isn't that also in Song of Ice and Fire not something they play around with? Because they do in a lot of other medieval fantasy.
Yeah, of course, but not that I mean, of course it's used, but uh, mm, I'm
Because
not.
in this scenario, you need to think beyond the individual, and you need to think family lines and power like that, because they all want their family
Mm-hmm,
to be the biggest.
mm-hmm,
So even if Otto Hightower himself will never be king, he
mm-hmm.
can take the regent place, and he can, you know, really get his grandson to take the vision he wants to take. He
Yeah.
can mold him into his image, and then the Hightowers are king, so his family is set.
Well, it would still be a Targaryen king though, but
Yeah, but yeah,
with
that's a bit.
Hightower bloodlines, of course. Um,
If the king would be the one who actually gets young Alicent pregnant.
well, well, that was kind of a big thing in the Game of Thrones first season.
I know the
Um,
whole incest thing.
yeah,
I
but
did read that part.
yeah. Well, in any case, so I think it's hard for Otto to kind of gain more than what he has right now. So I think what he should do at that point, at the end of this episode, is consolidate power. And I wonder whether he will, or does he have some
I
other
think he is,
ulterior?
because Grand Maester is more or less on his side.
Hmm.
They're also the only two who know the king
Yeah, but I
is.
mean consolidate power for the Targaryen family. Like squash out Daemon or whatever threat he might pose to the family and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know what his goal is there, because he was and that's jumping ahead a bit, but when we have the encounter with Damon,
Hmm.
he was kind of pushing Damon's buttons as well. So I
Yeah,
thought he kind of was looking for a hostile encounter there.
yeah. It
I
seems
don't know.
strange to me that he wouldn't have taken into account the huge red dragon that was obviously somewhere in the vicinity. But
We do see there's a lot of fog, and we see another dragon coming out of it, and they didn't know that one was there. So who knows where that dragon was hiding? Maybe behind the mountain.
uh, well, we'll get there. Yeah. So Rhaenyra's comment is not really listened to by the king,
No,
and
and she gets immediately pushed towards, oh, you pick the guard. He's gonna defend you as well anyway.
yeah, yeah,
And then here, and this is again, we get to the scene where she has to pick among the sirs who's gonna be the member of the guard. And clearly, I mean, in the way the scene is set up, Otto had prepared some candidates. I think they mentioned together with
yeah.
the Meester, they prepared the candidates, and almost that's all of them except for one have no practical experience in an encounter beyond a tourney fight. And we know tourney fights can be brutal, but the idea, if it's your king's guard, then you want someone with some experience. But luckily, and here he's coming back, Sir Cole
Kristen Cole.
is there.
And we
And
actually learn his where he comes from. So I was interested in this. He's the son of a steward from I think a Dornish house. It must be. So that would explain why he has a last name but is not considered highborn, because stewards
yeah,
are kind of like in between. So they do have like families, but they don't have lands. So
yeah.
yeah,
And after a year of combat in the Stormlands, he was knighted, and with knighthood comes some land. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
indeed.
But yeah, so our princess chooses for Sir Cole. The hand tries to interfere because the other sirs are from important families, but she says, "Yeah, I don't want tourney
He does
knights." And
have a
there's,
point in that,
from a political perspective, yes, but we're talking again about the king's guard,
of course.
so position is not everything. They should have sent good candidates.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
So I think he selected on purpose bad candidates. I really think he's playing a
Oh,
game.
really? I
Yeah,
didn't think that far. I did
yeah,
wonder why he would have put Kristen Cole in there though, next
because
to all the others.
I
Yeah.
think because he's not highborn, and there's two things. Either she wouldn't choose Cole because he's not highborn, and then they get a potentially weak link in the guard, or
Mm-hmm.
she would choose him, and he can later try and play that as he says, the others were more politically connected, so he can try and play that to say, look how weak she is. She doesn't honor your family. Support my grandson as heir.
Yeah,
Blah blah
yeah,
blah blah blah.
yeah.
So
You're
in the
thinking
long
way
run,
further ahead than I was.
we're
Yeah.
talking politics for family lines. I kind of assume we have to think long term.
True, true. Yeah, I didn't see that, but
Plus,
I was
plus
wondering.
episode 1 to 2 jumps 6 months. So who knows how much we're gonna jump every time.
Yeah, it feels like it might be a lot, if this keeps on, because maybe because I can't imagine that they're gonna be at war like within 2 days. So yeah,
Mm.
Viserys also to have a war. I think Viserys is gonna have to die. So he doesn't look that unhealthy at this point. So
He still has issues with his finger that he cut in
that's
episode
true.
one,
That's true.
6 months later.
Yeah, okay, but you can cut off a finger, you can cut off this. I mean, he's not gonna die in the first few months, it
No,
seems.
but they can keep cutting stuff off him.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how much the Grand Maesters are actually trying to heal him as well.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, because there's some talk that the maesters might not always be aligned with the king and stuff. And yeah,
Mhm.
another thing you probably
So,
should
so
know.
yeah,
Uh,
before you go ahead, are the Maesters in any way linked to the Sept, or is it different?
that's what I was gonna get into.
Ah, okay.
And
Okay.
they do mention it a little. I think they have like one line about Hightower's full title somewhere in there. So Otto Hightower is actually the Lord of the Hightower, which is the family that rules Old Town. It's called, and Old Town is the second biggest city in Westeros, and that's also where the Maesters have their, I guess, university or school, like the main seat where they
Mm-hmm.
do research and teach other Maesters and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which is also kind of like a brotherhood. So when you become a maester, you also vow not to take a wife, and you all your life you're gonna be a maester, and you
Mm-hmm.
also lose your last name. Um,
And they are the Sept.
no, then you also have the sept, which is also the big seat of the sept. Used to be, I'm not sure whether it's still at that point the case or not, used to be also in Old Town, but at some point it moved to King's Landing, which
Ah,
so I'm
okay.
not sure whether in this part of I mean in this era I guess it's at Old Town or but in any case it's a real big concentration of power in Old Town. So the High Tower,
Okay.
I mean there must be some coordination or whatever going on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, jumping scenes again. So, we went from our small council and our attorney chaps now to the king and Alicent, where Alicent is still ingratiating herself to
Hmm.
him. We're talking about the model. Turns out he didn't actually build it, he had other people build it. Which is a bit unfortunate because we did
Yeah,
like in the first episode that he was potentially making it.
he did make the
Uh,
plans though. So
yeah,
okay.
and then he drops a small dragon figurine,
Yeah.
and then they have a discussion about Rhaenyra, that it's difficult to discuss personal matters, but
Hmm.
Alison managed to spin that on herself and her mom dying. She's really getting a lot of mileage out of her mom dying more than 6 months ago. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm also wondering how old she's supposed to be. So the actress is 19.
yeah.
The actress for Rhaenyra is 22.
Uh-huh.
At least might be 20 and 23, depends on their exact birth dates,
Yeah,
but about around that. But Rhaenyra is supposed to be 15 here.
yeah. I think
So,
Alicent is about the same age.
okay. Because it seems to me a bit disingenuous how they're playing this, because the 12-year-old girl is played by a child,
Hmm.
but then his
Yeah,
marriage choice for the 15-year-old is someone who's 19. So for us, it
yeah,
feels having the 12-year-old played by a child really makes it icky. Like, you're not gonna do that, are you, Viserys?
yeah,
But then the fact that Allison is not played by a 15-year-old,
yeah.
it's still
That's true.
squicky, but it's already less squicky. So unconsciously, you as an audience member accept the choice more,
Yeah,
but it's really still squicky.
yeah, it is. I think they mention it somewhere here. At the end, Lena, like her mother told her that she wouldn't have to bed him until she was
Until she was
40.
14.
So
Yeah.
I think 14 is like the legal age in Westeros at that point in time.
Hmm.
So from that point of view, I guess 15 is
So if
okay.
2 years, have passed, we'll see that same character, but now played by a 20-year-old.
Yeah, well, I don't know how they will handle it.
So the king doesn't want to talk to his 15-year-old daughter, and the rest of the scene is clumsy flirting, and
Yeah,
then he asks her to keep the talk secret, which
yeah,
of course she's gonna do because for her that's advantageous.
of course. Then
Because
we
in our
see,
next scene, we
yeah,
get Rhaenyra and Alicent talking about what if your father were to remarry?
yeah, yeah, maybe a little bit.
And she's really using her friendship with Rhaenyra to dig for some details that she can use to then further ensnare Viserys.
Yeah. Well, I'm not so sure she's ensnaring Viserys. Uh, I think Viserys might have is just catching some feelings. I don't know if ensnaring is the right word.
She's been ordered to ensnare the king by her dad very, very clearly.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't think if she was a free woman, I don't get the feeling that that would have been her choice.
Yeah.
Unless, yeah, later on we see that she's actually the big mastermind behind everything. But so far in 2 episodes, I haven't gotten that feeling just
No,
yet.
no.
But yeah, she's under orders of her dad ensnaring the king. And I do feel it's ensnaring the way she plays it up. Later, when she brings him the gift and everything, she's really ingratiating herself.
Well, if she's 15 years old, I must say, she's a very smart 15-year-old with the way she's handling things and the
Yeah.
relationships between her
But
and Viserys and Rhaenyra. Uh,
yeah, but we do see in episode 1 that young women of the court are really trained in this kind of stuff. They also know the entire history of who married whom
mhm.
and the bloodlines and things. And you can be sure that with all of the political jousting, their parents also prepared them for this.
Yeah.
That's a bit the way it goes when you have this kind of governmental structure.
So they have kind of like a bonding moment where they both
Yeah,
mourn their mothers, but it feels, yeah,
and
disingenuous.
and one question there. The ring Rhaenyra is wearing here, is that the ring from episode 1 that the king had in his tissue? Is that maybe the ring for the heir? Because there's a ring when you're king, and then there's a ring for the heir most of the time
I
in old
didn't know.
families.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
She's she's very obviously wearing a ring, and I hadn't noticed it before, and I think it's the same ring, but I didn't go back to check.
Well, I'll look at it when I see it next time.
Hmm.
Not sure. Although I haven't heard about Targaryens passing down a ring. Uh,
But that's yeah, that's more again from other reading,
yeah,
but it's something that comes up a lot in other
the
fantasy, medieval fantasy is the concept of a ring for the Lord
yeah,
and a ring for the heir.
yeah. The main big thing Targaryens do, they have two things
Mm-hmm.
uh, which they signal an heir. So the first thing is the heir gets is called the Prince of Dragonstone. So Dragonstone is the seat of the heir.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also have swords, like Damon mentioned. Dark Sister is like a very important sword, but that's more like the sword for the warriors. Then there's also another sword, uh, Blackfire, but it hasn't been mentioned yet. I'm not sure where
Yeah.
it is, or but
Mm-hmm.
that sword is also something they signal, like, oh, whoever wears Blackfire is like an heir or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
No, not anything about rings
Yeah.
that I know of.
Yeah. All right. So then we get to the next scene. Another question for you, by the way, about the next scene. So we
Hmm.
see the king, Corlys, and his wife, the queen who never was, Rhaenys.
Hmm.
So Rhaenys and our king are cousins. They're not brother and sister. But and then to me now um
Wait, are
the
they?
whole yes, because they multiple times mention cousin.
Oh, okay.
They mention multiple times. And so for me this is now complete question how this whole should Viserys be king or not um, becomes one big muddled mess.
Yeah.
Because if Rhaenys's claim was that she was the eldest child, and his claim is that he's the eldest son, to me that only works if they're both from the king.
Ah,
But so is it the king's nephew who's now king?
yeah, I think so. Because that would explain it, because I think otherwise it would have never even been a question
Yeah,
whether
for
Rhaenys,
Rhaenys. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think that was the big question, like, okay, Rhaenys was the only daughter
Mm,
left or something, maybe other people died. Then, oh, I should go to the brother and then the nephew because the brother probably also died. So, yeah, that must have been the case, yeah. Uh,
yeah. I could do with a scene where they're looking at the family tapestry and they just take 2 minutes to explain. I really would appreciate that so much.
yeah. Yeah, true.
You know, like that scene in the third, no, the fifth Harry Potter book where Sirius and Harry have a talk when they're looking at the Black family tapestry. I want that, but here.
Yeah, that would help. Yeah. Maybe they'll do something like that. I think they should. I mean, the show is called House of the Dragon, so I, I mean,
Yeah, we could do with understanding how on earth this house is set up.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So um,
Anyway,
there's talk here about an obligation to avoid war.
hmm
But then they say, yeah, but the eyes of the enemy are on the Red Keep, with Daemon now um, in the Keep of Dragonstone, and a foreign power having a colony in their water. So 6 months later,
yeah,
we're actually talking about a colony already, and
yeah.
still he's not sending the navy.
Yeah, well, I
Uh,
can't imagine that I think Viserys must have had such an easy time ruling because it seems like it's the first time he actually has
mm.
problems.
But to be
Like,
fair, he's only been ruling for 9 years.
yeah, true, but I mean, like, oh, what should we do things to consolidate power? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I can't follow. It seems like he's a bumbling fool in this
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, the crown is seen as weak, so you need to act now. If you join the families, they won't see us as weak anymore. And I'm like, yeah, you're gonna need to do more than just marry. Your pitch could do with a little bit more work.
What'd you say? Your
So their whole spiel is, the crown is seen as weak.
yeah,
You need to act now. Let's join the families.
yeah.
As though just by having him married 12-year-old,
Well,
suddenly all the enemies will think, oh ho, that Viserys guy, we're not gonna mess with him anymore.
no, it's not the Viserys guy, but I think what he's getting at is that I mean, from a foreign perspective, they might have been looking at the past few years, decades, and they've seen like, oh, there's been like a kind of power struggle for the throne, so the Targaryens are not united.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
so
uh,
actually bringing back the claim of the original one with his claim
yeah,
could be seen as strengthening the house from within again. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
maybe. Okay.
That's the thing.
Yeah. The
But
realm expects our king to marry soon.
yeah, I think it's a very, 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 very strong argument, and I think Viserys is very, very, very stupid not to take it. And I kind of, I mean, I'm kind of disappointed in how they, like, because from this episode it seems like Viserys is just stupid. I mean,
Hmm.
they should have put in some
Yeah.
scenes where Otto is kind of like convincing him or something.
Well, I have to say, in episode one, I already felt like Otto Hightower was undermining Corlys Velaryon.
Yeah, of
So
course. Yeah.
already there, so it's all a bit subtle. I could do indeed with a bit more, but maybe it's gonna come up. And we also don't know. I mean, our king is now I don't know if he still has the back thing, but I'm gonna assume he still has the back thing.
Yeah.
That they tried to burn shut. But now he has the finger thing going on
Okay,
for
yeah.
6 months already. So Lord knows what else they have him on. Because when he's at the small council, the way the actor chooses to portray our king is not sober.
Oh, would you say so?
Yeah, the way he's all hunched over with a bit an odd look on his face and everything. I mean, there are some other scenes where he's a bit more
But you do
clear.
have the inclination, also with Arcane, to think that people are on drugs, so I'm not sure if I'm buying this.
But I'm not saying on drugs, but I get the feeling in the small council he's never sober.
Maybe he's got some painkiller going on or
Oh,
something.
yeah, that's a bit what I'm thinking. It's not necessarily that he's drunk for drunk's sake, but maybe he's drinking away the pain or he's taking something against the pain and it's might be interfering with his good judgment as well.
Yeah, yeah, that could be. That would explain it a little bit better. And also, you make a good point. Maybe you weren't gonna make the point, but the fact that he is having health problems would um, give more reason to marry Alicent, who can actually give him children already, even though, yeah, she's only
Mm-hmm.
15, but she's not 12. Uh, so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and also there's the whole thing of yeah, it's just I don't think he's firing at all cylinders at the moment. I really think there's something going on here.
yeah, could be, could be. But it seems like in this scene, at least, he does hold the opinion of Corlys and Rhaenys in high regard. So I was still
Mm-hmm.
surprised that he didn't choose Lena. But maybe, and then I think they should have maybe emphasized it a little bit more how he's also very concerned about his health
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
it,
yeah, because that's one thing I wanted to raise. Is he's ill. I mean, he's clearly not well. He just lost his wife, but the fact that he knows that something is wrong with him might be playing more to his paranoia. So his fear of dragons that you're seeing that I'm not really seeing might be also that same paranoia. The way he reacts to Rhaenyra coming back and trying and also saying you can't take the dragons to there and do this safe minor task even though you're my heir could all be pointing towards that paranoia because he knows he's not going to be around for a long time anymore.
yeah, well, I'm not sure he knows, but I still think they should have like had like a scene, even if it was just him alone, like where he's like looking at his body or something, and
Mm. A
just being
bit,
concerned,
yeah.
look or whatever.
What we need for Viserys is the scene we got with Daemon in the whorehouse, where his favorite whore, Mysaria, I'm looking at the name on the screen
Yeah,
right now because I wouldn't have remembered, but where she's comforting him, and through her monologue to him, we could kind of deduce what was going on.
yeah,
We need something similar, so we need to be able to get into his head, because as you say, at the moment he's coming over as just a fool.
yeah,
And you don't get to king by just being a fool.
yeah. Well, I wouldn't
Because there
suspect.
were 14 candidates, and he and
On the other hand,
Rhaenys were the two best candidates, huh?
well,
Out of 14. Huh?
of course we can make a side note here. Maybe the people who chose didn't want a strong king.
Okay, that's also a fair point. But
So,
still, to get to the final 14, to be a contender in everyone's eyes, you can't be just a fool.
well,
You need to
through
you need
normal,
to have a story that the common people buys. Huh?
yeah, but through normal succession, he would have been the king. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they go into it or not, but maybe they were like, oh no, this Viserys guy is gonna fuck up everything. Uh, we need to have a great council or something because it might be a
Or the
problem.
other, yeah, I got a feeling that was actually the other way around because the way um, the Rhaenys character plays it is as though she was destined to be the queen ruler.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think it's more that she was the heir apparent, but
Yeah,
then the menfolk started complaining, and that's why there's the High Council, because the at that point King could see his kingdom fall apart in
yeah,
war if he made his daughter queen. I
yeah,
think Viserys was not the
yeah. Could be. Yeah.
I don't I don't know.
Maybe we'll get more of
Maybe we'll
that.
get yeah, maybe we'll get that when they give us the tapestry scene. Then they can give us some of those details
Something.
as well.
Yeah,
Maybe just Rhaenys talking to Rhaenyra because they do have a good scene together. So
yeah. Well, and
maybe
then we
something
have
like
a
that.
scene Viserys Rhaenyra where they're having dinner, and in this scene, in my opinion, the it explains a lot. Like Viserys is maybe just a little bit sexist. Like,
Oh yeah, 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 for sure. The
yeah,
whole fact we know that from episode one, just the fact that he kept pushing his wife for that son because he needed an heir, and
yeah,
he
yeah. Of
kind of
course, but
disregarded his daughter the whole time in
yeah, yeah,
episode
but
one.
uh, I mean, culturally, it still makes sense because every other house except for the Targaryens and some in Dorne, uh, it is male, what they call male progenitors or something. So
Mm.
the male always take precedence, and
Mm.
so that's why he might have been concerned. But now in this scene, he's like, "Oh, we should be able to speak freely." And then when Rhaenyra wants to speak freely, he's like, "Ah, shut up! You don't know anything."
He shuts. Yeah, she wants to talk about her ID to send the dragons, and he immediately shuts her down.
Yeah.
But I still don't know if that's really the sexism or more that paranoia of him
Hmm.
not wanting her out there and being in a war.
Yeah, but I mean, just the idea, you can entertain the idea and maybe think about another solution, some other
Mm.
guy, maybe himself, who could ride the dragon, because he did ride
Yeah.
Balerion, which was the
Or
biggest dragon that ever
mm,
lived. So
yeah, or his brother get Damon back.
yeah, in
Say,
some
look,
way, yeah,
so look, I can't make you heir, but you can be whatever
yeah,
important role will invent here. You fight because Otto
main
Hightower is
dragon
not gonna do
knight.
it.
You're the main dragon knight of the realm, the most
Mhm,
important statue that you could have in this political arrangement. Yeah, he could definitely
mhm.
make something up because Damon seems like also, yeah, he's not that smart. Um,
And then we get our next scene
with
where we get to see the finger is still messed up. They put it in maggots
yeah,
because the Grandmaster says it's probably the only way we're gonna save the digit. So
yeah,
I'm assuming next episode we'll see he's lost a finger. Luckily,
maybe.
it's only the pink, so
But
it doesn't
again,
really
this
matter.
scene was perfect for them to like make him seem concerned or any way, but he's just like, oh yeah, let's just put my hand in maggots. I don't care. Okay, what's
Yeah,
up, Otto?
he's more interested to discuss the marriage with Hightower and the Grand Maester, where Hightower immediately says she's young, trying to steer the king away
Of
from her.
course, he knows him as well. Yeah.
But the Grand Maester does say, "Yeah, in essence, it's a good plan." And
Hmm.
then the king's like, but what would Rhaenyra think?
Yeah.
And then the Grand Master goes like, what does it matter?
Who cares? Yeah, you're king, bruh.
Hmm.
It doesn't really matter what a little child thinks. Yeah.
And then, yeah, we've got our king and then the child, actually played by a child in the gardens, where we have our talk about dragons and history that I, to be honest, couldn't really pick up. Uh,
So she's talking about how he's the last to ride Balerion, the Black Dread, which was the biggest dragon.
is
But
that the one with the skull in episode
I
one? Is
think
that Balerion?
that's his skull. Yeah, probably.
Mm.
So yeah, he was the biggest dragon ever, and I do hope for your sake they go a little bit more into uh, the history of the Targaryen
Yeah,
house.
it really looks like this prequel show should have or should get its own prequel show Because everything they're establishing so far is like, oh, I would have loved to have seen that. Oh, I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, in some, not everywhere, but in some places they are assuming that you've seen Game of Thrones, and I wish they didn't do that. Um,
Hmm. Especially
Especially
if it's a
because it's a
prequel.
prequel. Yeah.
Hmm. If it's a sequel, I can deal. I'm in agreement. I should have watched it. But you make a prequel show, so it takes place before all of that mess. So I shouldn't need it. I
Hmm.
should be able to jump in and with a bit of effort follow along. And I'm making the effort,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like the show is always trying to meet me halfway.
No, that's
Sometimes they do,
yeah.
but not always.
Yeah, they could have done a better job. I would have liked it if this could stand on its own and it wouldn't need Game of Thrones. But it's like they kind of want to need Game of Thrones and also want to help Game of Thrones. So yeah.
Does Game of Thrones still need help? It's
Yeah,
done.
yeah, it needs help. The last season needs any help it can get, whatever it is. But I hope, yeah, I hope they wouldn't do it here. But they already did a little bit with the last scene in the first episode.
It's
Or
like
one of the
calling the
last
fire
scenes.
department when the house has burned down.
Yeah, but yeah. Okay, well, anyway, so they're talking about dragons. Oh yeah, she's saying here Vhagar is still alive. Why don't you ride him? So see, those are the
Ah,
questions I'm
that's
interested.
where you picked it. Okay, I was just getting annoyed by the kid, so I
Uh,
kind of didn't pick up on the dialogue all that well.
yeah, he's like, oh, he's nested there, and oh, he's too
Mhm.
big, and oh, maybe he's too big for the world. Ah, Viserys, you're such a coward. Just ride your dragons and fix all the problems. That would pretty much be. I mean, yeah, that
But
would.
then their house would still be the best by the time Game of Thrones comes along, and we know
Yeah,
that can't be the case.
yeah, well, in
But
any
yeah,
case.
so um, the kid gives some practice lines to
Hmm.
get the houses together, which Viserys luckily does realize. That's when he's not an idiot.
Hmm.
But then it's so obviously a
Yeah,
rehearsed line. Well played by the actress because her other lines didn't feel forced
yeah,
or rehearsed, but
true.
then this piece did. So that's good acting
It's
then.
also logical for a kid her age to be more interested in dragons
Hmm.
than marriage.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the input from Corliss was those lines, and then he asks, okay, what was the input of your mother? And it's like, yeah, basically no sex until 14.
Yeah. And then we have Rhaenyra and Rhaenys having a little one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, again, pushing a bit the theme that we talked about yesterday as well on woman power. That's a bit. And then I really hate the words the order of things. I don't know what it is, but I've heard that lately in a lot of fiction, different
Yeah.
things. And I really despise the way that's phrased.
Hmm.
I'd wish they would word it differently. That's a very personal, very weird nitpick, but
Okay.
I've been hearing it a bit too much lately, and I'm not a
Yeah.
fan of it.
Well, this scene did two things for me. Made me like Rhaenys and made me kinda not like Rhaenyra actually. I mean, I like her, like, oh, she's independent and all that, but she's messing a little bit with things that she shouldn't be messing with. I mean, if
Yes,
she's too
and that's
selfish.
yes, and that's the problem is if we saw a 15-year-old there saying those things, I think we'd be able to handle it better because it's a 15-year-old. But she doesn't look 15. She looks young, but she's not 15 young.
Yeah, no, my little sister is 15, and yeah, no, there's a huge difference.
There's a huge difference.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So yeah, that might be a reason, yes. Well, anyway, so
Uh,
Rhaenyra is like, "Oh, I'll make him see. Oh, I'll get the throne for myself." Yeah, and Rhaenys like, "Don't even try. It's not gonna work."
the men will never. They would let the kingdom burn before they accept a woman on the throne or something like that.
Yeah, probably true.
So maybe, and it's probably spoiler for the whole season, but to the best of your knowledge, has there been a queen ruler before we get to the end of season 8 of Game of Thrones?
Ah,
or don't you know? It's good. It's good if you don't know, but
I
because I got the feeling from what everyone was telling me while it was running of not, but I
I'm
don't know.
I'm not quite okay. Should I say or should I not?
I don't know. Maybe keep it for yourself,
I'm not
but
saying. I'm not
remember,
gonna say.
but
Yeah.
remember that it's a question because I get the feeling that that was not. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of don't see Rhaenyra getting her throne.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that would have been if Game of Thrones would have revealed a thing like that. That would be kind of a spoiler for this. So I'm keeping it in the middle.
All right. All right. But yeah, next scene. The king is now discussing remarriage with Alicent.
Mm-hmm.
She starts picking her nails, so that's really her tick when she gets nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if it's something she does to herself because she's doing something she doesn't want to do,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's just because she's nervous that she would mess up the plan. And I really think it's she's doing something she doesn't want to do
Mm-hmm.
because later on in the other scene where and it's actually gonna be after the scene after this where she's helping her father put on his armor.
Mm-hmm.
He sees her fingers all messed up, and then he asks a question, but immediately goes, "Will you go to the king?" And she again starts fidgeting a bit. So I think it's something
Yeah.
she does when she's doing something she doesn't want to do. I think
Okay.
that's the clue, but we're only 2 episodes in. We still have 8 episodes to figure out why they do this.
Yeah, and why they bring it in so much focus.
Yeah, yeah. But here, the only thing of note in this scene is that she's giving him the fixed dragon figurine,
Yeah, and
which to me was again part of the ploy to get the king
of course.
to like her. That's why, again, to me, the end was absolutely no surprise. But yeah, they get interrupted by a knock on the door. It's our friend Otto, where we get the cinema
Emergency meeting.
cliche. You have to see this. Now, to be fair, if he's the Viserys is king,
Mm-hmm.
his right-hand man comes in and says, "I have called together this small council for an emergency meeting."
Mm-hmm.
Your supreme commander asks, "Why?" And you say, "Oh, you should go to the meeting. You'll want to
Yeah.
hear this." I'm like, "No, no, no. I'm your boss. You just went behind my back and called an emergency meeting. I need to know why. I need to be prepared when I step in."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So that was to me another ploy
Yeah.
for Otto Hightower to set him,
Make him seem
to
weak, yeah.
undermine the king.
Yeah.
Because what is it? It's the king's brother has stolen a dragon egg.
Yeah.
And we know Viserys hasn't had the chance to process this before all of his counselors see how he reacts to this.
Yeah. Hmm.
He's not a good second hand.
No,
Okay?
I think you're seeing things that I'm not seeing. Maybe I'm seeing this and I think it's like, oh, this is a mistake from Otto, but yeah, it's more logical that he's doing this on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
you have me watching a medieval fancy political show, so I'm trying to figure out the
yeah, even
politics.
after all the Game of Thrones, I'm still a naive guy, I guess. Um,
So what do we learn? Daemon stole the dragon egg and left a note that he, as a rightful heir,
yeah.
has taken the egg. He'll take his second wife, as is allowed under the family law. Second wife is, of course, the prostitute.
Hmm.
They'll wed in 2 days, and as per the custom of his family, the eggshell will be used as a crib for his baby.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's basically what the note says. And then Rhaenyra asks which egg it was. I didn't immediately figure out what the relevance was there, but the reaction of her and the king clearly implied that it was an important egg. So
I
the
think it's
king wants to go.
I think it's an egg that Rhaenyra's dragon laid.
Could be. We learn from the scene in Dragonstone that it's also the egg that was intended for her brother.
Yeah, but
And I
so
think that's why the king reacts so viscerally that he'll go, and then again Hightower undermines him and says that he'll go.
uh, also they say it's a Dreamfire's act. I'm pretty sure Dreamfire is Rhaenyra's dragon.
Yeah,
Um,
could
yeah.
be.
So
I don't know if they've mentioned the name before. If they did, I did not remember that one.
so yeah, indeed,
Yes.
as you say, Otto undermines him again in front of the small council. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it really seems like his days are numbered in one way or another. Doesn't seem like
Mhm.
he has actually much hold on anything, to be honest.
No,
Yeah.
no, he's being outmaneuvered at every step. And you can say Rhaenys and Corlys were also trying to play him. That's true. But so far, I still think it was the better move to pact with them than to pact with Hightower, because Hightower really doesn't look like the good option. Also,
Yeah.
doesn't help that our king has had a chat with his daughter that it should be a Targaryen on the throne as per the dream of Aegon,
Mhm.
and then he'll court away from the family rather than within the family. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of incest, but if you believe in prophetic dreams,
Yeah.
kind of, you know, keep
Yeah.
them in mind when you're making
True.
world-changing decisions.
Yeah. And also you say, yeah, Corlys and Rhaenys have been trying to play him, but it's not as much as Otto is playing him
Yeah,
because
plus
Otto
they're
is
very, very
they're
clear about it. Huh?
straightforward about it at
Hmm.
least, yeah. So yeah,
They
Viserys.
also haven't, up until now, as far as we've seen, tried to undermine the king. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Corlys has been very vocal about his opinions, but he has never spoken up against the king so far. He's never undermined the king, and in the small council, he's always obeyed his king.
Yeah.
We can say completely different of the hand.
Yeah. True.
But yeah. So yeah, here we get the scene that I talked about where
Yeah.
Alicent is helping her dad. Only thing of notice, he asks her why she keeps destroying herself when he sees her hands. And
Mm.
then, before even waiting for an answer, he immediately asks, "Will you go to the king tonight?"
Yeah. Well, yeah. Otto's. He has a likable face, but maybe he's a pretty shitty dude. Yeah.
He's a pretty shitty dude.
Yeah.
And there we learn that Cole will go with Hightower to Dragonstone,
Yeah.
which is our next scene at the meetup between Otto and Damon,
Mm-hmm.
where they have some
I
verbal sparring.
I do like Damon in action, still do. Even
Mm.
though.
Yeah, I liked Damon a lot more in this episode than I did in the second episode. Everything in this episode I 100% believed,
Mm-hmm.
where his toughness in the previous one I didn't 100% buy.
Mm-hmm.
Here I'm kind of on board.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why I said at the start that I would consider this a bit better than the previous one,
Mm-hmm.
is because at least now I'm believing all characters. Do I think the king is a fool, but then probably just a drunk fool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I really like the scene. I like to see
Yeah,
Damon.
the verbal sparring and everything.
Yeah.
Damon is verbally trying to get the upper hand, and then Otto tries to get the guards to rebel, and
Yeah.
then Damon shows that he has the egg, and then Otto threatens him, so the sword gets pulled,
Yeah.
and
Then the
then the dragon
dragons.
arrives.
Yeah.
So then Otto's like, "Oh, dang, didn't expect this. Everybody
Which was
sheath your
stupid, but
weapons."
okay.
Agreed, but and
And
then Rhaenyra arrives on Dragonback, and nobody'd seen that coming.
no, and what you mentioned earlier, you said that she was maybe hiding behind a mountain. Dragonstone is not that far from King's Landing, so at any point, had she decided to just go on Dragonback to Dragonstone, she would have
No, no,
probably been first.
yeah,
Uh,
no, no, no. I was talking about Daemon's dragon.
okay.
So that one might have been behind the mountain, or might have also been in the mist, the same mist where Rhaenyra comes out, because they hadn't noticed her until she comes out of the mist. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
And then I did like her conversation with her uncle here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That basically, you're in my keep.
Calling his bluff.
And then he's like, yes, but I'm getting married. And then she said, but you already have a wife. And then the answer is, yeah, but I didn't choose that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learn that the egg is the one intended for her brother.
Her late brother. Yeah.
Mm.
But they also didn't they say that before? Well, doesn't matter.
And then it's something like, when are you getting married? In one day. And then the whore leaves.
Yeah.
So she understands the dragon talk.
Yeah, that was also kind of strange to me.
Yeah, I think that was the one thing that I did notice, is because they make a whole thing about them speaking this
Yeah.
other language, and so far only the Targaryens and the Dragon Keepers
Yeah.
have been able to use that language, but she understands, as we learn
Yeah.
just a little bit later.
Yeah, well, so the language, for context, is called Valyrian, and they haven't explained it in this show, but
Mhm,
they do a little bit with, I guess, the dragon tamers or the dragon handlers, whatever they're called.
mhm.
So yeah, it's not only the Targaryens who speak that. So, and you also later on we hear her speak, and she's obviously from another country. So, I guess she knows Valyrian because she's from far away in Essos or something. So yeah.
So is Valyrian still an active language in Westeros?
Uh,
Because I
no, not in
assumed that
Westeros.
with not in Westeros, but the Valyrian kingdom was outside of Westeros,
Yes.
because Aegon conquered Westeros.
Yeah, so Valyria used to be, let's say, like the Roman Empire, and they conquered like a lot of lands, and then they got destroyed by something that's still unclear. Um,
But there are still pockets in the world where they speak Valyrian.
Valyrian, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. And is Valyrian spelled in the same way as Corlys Valyrian's last name?
No, no,
Because that also kept confusing me.
no. So you have Corlys Valerian. So yeah, yeah, yeah. George likes his names. Yeah.
Yeah, no, no. I don't mind that he likes weird names. I just wished he'd have the creativity of thinking of some more, you
Well,
know?
yeah,
A
I
bit more
guess
variety. Variety is the spice of life.
true, but he does have
Because also
some variety.
Rhaenys and Rhaenyra.
Yeah, but that's kind of like a royal thing,
Yeah, but
right?
it's princess and princess. It's
Yeah, but our
annoying.
we're from Belgium, Otis, and our kings have been called Leopold, Albert, or Philip. And there's one Baudouin. That's one. So
Yeah, so, but yeah, that's from king to heir apparent, eh? Always.
uh,
Leopold the First, eldest son Leopold the Second, eldest son Leopold the Third. Then we had eldest son Albert the First, who
didn't we
had
have a
two
Leopold 4?
sons. No,
No?
no.
Okay.
It might be Leopold one, two, then Albert, then Leopold, then Baudouin and Albert.
Mm,
That I'm not 100% sure,
yeah,
because nobody in Belgium cares about the royal family beyond the fact that as long as they exist, we kind of have a country.
yeah. Well, let's
That
not get into that right now. Most houses in Westeros actually do name their kids pretty much the same. Like they only have like 4 different names. Most of the time, it's yeah.
Mm. It's a bit like the movie Nope, where the father is called, I kid you not, Otis Senior,
Oh,
and then David Kaluuya plays Otis Junior.
yeah. Okay. Uh,
Yeah, I saw Nope over the weekend. Loved
yeah.
it, by the way, guys. Watch it. Not as good
That's
as Get Out, better than us.
just some trivia. We can maybe do another episode on Nope when I've seen it as well. I would be interested in reviewing some
Mm,
movies. Of course, guys, please subscribe, like, and comment, and tell us what movies we have to rate. Okay? Thanks. Now,
okay.
let's get on with the episode.
Yeah,
So,
so the whore has left,
yeah,
and then Rhaenyra says, I'm the one who's gonna take your throne. Kill me.
yeah.
And we know from episode 1 that he kinda likes his niece.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bit creepy, but maybe it's not as creepy as I was imagining. But anyway, he doesn't, and he actually hands her the egg.
Yeah. So there is some kind of mutual respect there, at
Mhm.
least. It seems like Damon isn't really trying to undermine Rhaenyra's position more. He's just like being an asshole to Viserys as much as he can because he doesn't like what he
Yeah,
did.
but and that's I'm still not sure because end scene Damon speaks up against Corlys on I can talk that way about my brother, you can't. I feel it's possible in this story still that Damon is actually trying to push his brother into actually taking action for once. He
Hmm.
might still be
Hmm.
trying to help his
Hmm.
brother out in the only way he can still do something
Mm-hmm.
to help his brother out.
Yeah. Maybe that's why he gave back the egg so easily.
Yeah, and that might also be because he wasn't gonna give it to Hightower at all.
Of course.
But this was family, so it's
Mm-hmm.
different. But yeah, then we get to the scene between Damon and Missaria, where we learn that she isn't his fiancée. She's in fact not pregnant at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then, to be
So yeah,
fair,
you might be
it's a
right that he's kind of trying to yeah, just play Viserys and trying to get him to do something.
yeah,
But yeah,
because he almost succeeded. Viserys was gonna storm over, was
hmm,
finally gonna take action, but Hightower undermined him again.
yeah,
So, but
true.
yeah. But what do we learn about Missaria here is that she came to Damon to be liberated, and then question of what, and she says fear. And now my open question is this fear with a capital F or the concept of fear? Is there something in this world that we would be able to call fear?
Oh no,
Or does she
not that
just
I
mean
know.
fear in general, as
Yeah,
I
she,
don't want to be afraid anymore?
yeah, I think she means fear
Uh,
in general. Yeah,
Yeah, because it's possible with her being from somewhere else,
yeah,
having the weird accent and everything, that
mhm,
she's fleeing from something very specific.
yeah,
So that's a bit what I don't know yet.
yeah. In any case, very serious. Again, Damon. I wish we would see him. I mean, I think he would play a good light-hearted Damon as well in some scenes at least, but it's always
Mm.
sad and
Yeah,
yeah,
but the story is clearly not going for lighthearted.
yeah. Which is, I mean, in Game of Thrones there were some, at least some scenes that like lightened the mood a little bit, but here
Yeah,
it's very rare.
yeah, it's all very, very sad and dour.
Hmm. Well,
But
anyway,
yeah.
so they're like, I didn't really couldn't really appreciate this scene. I mean, it seemed
Mhm,
like filler. I don't know why they had it. Like,
mhm. If we read into it to try and get to Damon's motivations,
hmm,
I think it was a relevant scene. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but otherwise the scene indeed doesn't make
well,
sense.
she does
So
say, "Oh, yeah, you can have fun teasing the king." Um, yeah, he is kind of teasing him, but yeah, teasing
yeah,
him
but I
into
think
action, yeah, maybe.
I really think there's more to it than
So I
just
wonder
acting
what
up.
he's gonna do with Corlys. If you're right, then
Mm.
yeah, he should. I mean, his duty should be to tell Viserys that Corlys is kind of having some treasony plans going on.
Or he can go and help Corlys defeat our crab keeper,
Mm-hmm.
use that to get back into the court,
Yeah.
and then elevate Corlys with him and keep him close.
Yeah. Well,
Because Corlys is still way more straightforward and he's acting out of concern for the kingdom compared to Hightower, who's just playing games.
Before we get to that, do you know this guy who Viserys is talking to in the small council room?
Yes, it's the member that in the previous episode didn't like the idea of a woman heir.
Ah,
And that's the only thing I know about this character because he's always sitting there. To the best of my knowledge,
yeah.
his name has not been
No,
mentioned
I don't
yet.
think so. Well, anyway,
So
so they discussed why Lena is the obvious best choice, and even after this whole discussion where they had
basically, let's just take one step back. Everyone on the small council, except for Hightower, has told him this is a good idea. Go for it.
hmm
Basically, he wants everybody's honest opinion, and he wants to take it into account, and blah blah blah.
but he's selfish,
And
I guess.
yeah, because this guy even says, "Look, we're talking here potential war.
hmm
What if Corlys withholds his ships?" And then, "Oh, I'm the king. He wouldn't withhold his ships." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you're
Uh,
not exactly a powerful king, and you keep letting yourself be undermined. Take into account that this is an important decision."
yeah.
Well, yeah, but
Anyway,
yeah. They get interrupted because the princess has returned from Dragonstone, and the king is angry because she's his only heir and she could have been killed. And
hmm
she quite calmly says, "Shall we sit?"
hmm
I did like that line delivery.
yeah.
And then she quite fairly and rightly points out, "I've retrieved the egg without bloodshed. Otto
hmm
Hightower couldn't."
Yeah.
And
Viserys
then we
is like,
have
oh, you're turning into a woman, which also gives you no opinion, so shut up, I guess. Yeah, I mean,
Well, no, because he starts talking about Emma, about the mom. So they finally, after 6 months, talk about her. Not a long, but they talk about. Then they talk about the new wife, and she said, "Look, you have your
hmm
obligations as king. I
hmm
understand. You need to act as king."
Isn't it kind
Mm.
of naive of Rhaenyra that she didn't see this Alicent thing coming?
Yes, but to be fair to her,
Hmm
as far as I know, she isn't aware that Alicent has been going to the king at night for 6 months now.
Okay, which is also kind of naive of Rhaenyra, I would think. But
I don't know, because if Allison never gives
yeah,
note
but
of this, she
if
wouldn't have reason to suspect this, because she knows now also that the king is talking to this child. So when the king is talking about the new wife,
hmm
she's thinking about her, what is that, cousin once removed or whatever. I
yeah,
really don't
something.
know what we call that. But yeah, she thinks we're talking about her.
Yeah, of
What the
course.
king does say is that he wants to keep her as his heir.
hmm
And then they talk about the vague point, the enemies, whoever would be close. And I thought that was very interesting that Viserys would suddenly start talking about the people who try to get them down,
hmm
where up until now he has always been in for
Yeah, but it
this
seems
episode and
like
a half the naive guy who
yeah.
the clearest plotter in his court he doesn't realize.
Yeah, well, it seems like he's honestly just repeating what Corlys told him. Like it's not really his own
Yeah.
idea. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but back to the point, Rhaenyra, you said yeah they should be well versed when they're 15 in the ways of the court, and that's why
Mhm.
they are good at that. But then again, I would think Rhaenyra has some other handmaidens that would have maybe seen Alicent go to the king and stuff. I mean, no.
Maybe. Maybe. Again, remember we weren't 100% sure about the relationship last episode,
hmm
so maybe she doesn't suspect that her best friend would try and
Yeah, but
get to
even
her
even
father.
she
I
could
don't know.
just like have a handmaiden
Mm,
watch the king. That would have been enough.
mm. Yeah,
Uh,
but so far we haven't seen her with any other
that's true.
handmaidens at
That's
all.
true. Yeah.
So I don't know how this fantasy kingdom works.
Well,
But we're
in Game of Thrones, for reference, so we also had the young girl at court, Sansa,
mm,
and she had numerous handmaidens.
Mm-hmm.
taking care of her clothes and stuff. And of course, Sansa wasn't smart enough to actually have them as spies as well. But I
Ah,
would
okay.
think Rhaenyra would.
Mm.
She seems a smart girl.
So we cut to the small council where the king is gazing out the window as the councillors and Alicent arrive, and I was already, Alicent is here. He's gonna marry her for sure.
Yeah,
And of
why was
course,
she there? Now that you say so, yeah, why was she even there? I mean, yeah, other
the
than
only reason for her to be there is for the announcement because she has absolutely nothing to do in there.
yeah, and then the reaction from Corlys and Rhaenyra doesn't really make sense. They should have probably been like, "What is she doing here?"
Yeah.
And then Viserys should have said like, "Oh yeah, by the way, guys, this is my new wife or my new wife to be."
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, because Corlys storms out angry
mhm,
because of course he does.
mhm,
And then Rhaenyra's also feeling betrayed, so she leaves as well.
mhm.
And this after the king only the day before talked to her, I don't want us to be estranged, and then he makes a choice that everybody could tell you is the dumbest choice to make.
Yeah, I don't get it. I think it's not well done. This scene. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not
Every
deserved.
single one of his advisors, except for the Hand, told him go for the deal with Corlys,
Yeah.
and then he chooses his daughter's best friend. Weird.
You said the only argument would have been his health and
Yeah,
how fast he would have want to get
yeah.
more children, and they didn't really touch on that. So I think it's
Hmm.
kind of a fail in this episode.
Yeah, because again, on the small council, and I'm including his heir in this, only Hightower and the Grand Maester know about his health. As far as we know,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
far as we know, nobody else realizes this.
Mhm. That's true.
But yeah, we get then to our final scene where Corlys is talking about
Mhm.
Driftwood, and turns out he's talking to Daemon.
Driftmark.
Look, Driftmark, sorry.
Yeah.
And then the troubles and the stepstones and his navy,
Mhm.
and that the crab feeder
Yeah, yeah.
is backed
So
by strong members of the Free Cities
so
and
you
blah blah blah.
think Damon would do this to help the king? Um, I I thought at first that Corlys was gonna go all the way and just ask Damon to marry Lena. And
Ah no, I got the feeling that he was there purely for this position.
yeah,
That might come up later, but at this point,
I
I don't.
feel like Corlys has at this point given up on
Yeah,
Viserys.
but don't forget that Damon is actually already married to someone in Runestone.
True.
The wife he didn't choose, and that the whole second marriage thing, everybody in the court was like, yeah, he can't do that.
Yeah,
So I don't think Corliss was there with the idea,
yeah. Maybe
marry
that
my
was.
daughter. He
Yeah,
was clearly looking for support in some way, and what would he ask support for? Well, the one thing he's been talking about for 2 episodes now, the
yeah,
whole issue with the colony close to his stronghold. So
yeah. He also explains a bit about how he's the richest house in the Westeros, and he wants that to stay that way. And then Damon looks at him. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I guess we will see the next episode.
yeah, but we get that scene where Corlys is talking a bit negatively about the king, and then Daemon says, I can talk that way about my brother, but you
Yeah,
can't." And to me, that's more like, I think somewhere Daemon's still hoping that his brother will step up and actually,
yeah,
take control of the situation,
mm-hmm,
and if not, that he will do it for him.
yeah,
But I don't think, as the king says, I think that sounded a bit true. I don't think Daemon necessarily has the throne ambitions,
no.
though he did think he would get it. I don't think for him that's really the end goal.
What
It's
would be
more
his end
getting,
goal then?
I think, getting recognition.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
making sure that the kingdom is powerful and that the family remains strong. I think that's more
Not sure if he cares
his
about the
thing.
family, but the thing about recognition as well. I think he just wants people to love him, to
Hmm.
like him, but he's
Yeah,
doing all the wrong things.
because he's a bit of a psychopath.
Okay, yeah. He's misguided. Um, okay, and then we have some, which I did have a question. We have some uh, images of this crab king.
Mm.
Is this the
Hmm.
crab king, or who is this guy, or
Crab crab feeder.
is
Eh?
this even a human? Because it looked very strange to me.
So I'm looking at a picture on IMDb right now, um, and it's a mask
Ah,
on his face. But indeed, like his whole skin is all disgusting and everything.
yeah,
So I don't know if it's full human because I know there are ice zombies in Game of Thrones. So who knows what else there
yeah.
might have been 134 years ago.
True, it would be cool if they would introduce something like that. If they do it well, of course.
Hmm.
Um, but it would be cool. Okay, but that's it.
No,
So,
that's not it.
isn't it?
Because you have decided that
Yeah,
we are
yeah, yeah.
going to give
I
ratings.
was gonna get to that. So that's it. And then it's time for our ratings. And actually, before we started this review, I said that this episode was, in my opinion, worse than the first one, but I think I have to change my opinion now.
That's why we should have the discussion before the rating.
Ah, no, no, not at all. Because I think it's good to actually, talk about things because sometimes something is unclear and you might have not
Oh,
been
but that's
paying
what I
attention
say. That's
for.
why, yeah, that's what I said. That's why we have the discussion before the rating.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right, so you went first last time. Do you want to go first again?
Uh, no, you go first.
All right, so I gave the previous episode a 6
Mm-hmm.
because I was thinking 6 or 7, and you were thinking 7 or 8, but went for 7.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me this is 7 or 8. I'll go for 7. I'm giving it the room to become much better.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we might have to revise the whole rating thing once we've seen everything. Because if
Yeah.
there's gonna be a 12 in the future, we're gonna
Well,
have
then it's
to
just gonna
revise
be a
it a bit.
12.
But yeah, I thought it was a bit better than the previous one.
True.
Um,
I am more invested now,
mhm,
especially in Damon. Mostly
mhm.
in Damon, actually.
Yeah, it's slow. If they can continue a bit along this line, or even if they change it, at least he's so far the most intriguing one. I kind
Also
of
the
don't
most
care.
entertaining one.
Yeah, I still don't care for Hightower very much. Don't really care for his daughter. Wondering what's going on
Well,
with her
I
finger.
kind of, I'm starting to kind of dislike Otto Hightower, which is
Oh yeah, I've
also,
been there since
yeah.
episode 1, so join the
His
club.
daughter, I'm a bit ambivalent towards. I
Mm.
don't really care. She's not
Yeah,
Rain.
Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra is at least a bit less of a Disney princess than in episode 1, so
Mm-hmm.
that's good. But yeah, I don't know where they're gonna go with this. I like that the queen who never was got at least a few things to say this time.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband's pretty okay so far.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
trust
that's
the
true.
Maesters, but really, so far indeed, if there's a guy that we can, at this point in time, root a bit for, it's gonna be Damon.
Yeah.
At least for next episode, it promises that we're gonna see a fight with the crab feeder, so I do
Yeah.
hope they go for that.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, I didn't mention the last episode, but what I really, really like so far is that if someone gets hurt, they actually get hurt. And it
Yeah.
hurts. They don't just stand up and everything is fine 2 minutes later. No, 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 no. They
Yeah.
get hurt. So I do have to give the show that
Okay,
if they
yeah.
get hurt, they get hurt.
Okay, yeah. That's a pet peeve of yours then, I guess.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Well, to me, I think it's better than the first now, but it's not so much better that I'm gonna give this one an 8. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna give this one a 7, but better. So if the next one is also better than this one, then the next one will have to be an 8.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I guess yeah, I guess I liked it better with Damon and stuff. And then there were no like scenes that I really hated, like the first episode. But
Hmm.
then there was maybe less to it in the greater scheme of things this episode because it was yeah
I don't
a
know.
lot of scenes about oh yeah you
Hmm.
have to remarry and then yeah okay
Hmm.
maybe they could have shortened it a bit gave us some action or whatever I don't know but overall yeah good I would say 7 yeah
All right.
well um guys, of course, we want to know as well how much you would rate the episode. So please comment and like and subscribe. We really need something, guys. Please do it. I'm backing you. Okay. Well, anyway, Otis, if you don't have anything else to say, then I think we can end it here.
No, I
Um,
think we're good. Take care, guys.
Thanks for watching. Bye bye.